Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time doing another Halloween review, and this one is on the 1960 film Psycho. Now, Psycho, I think we all know what the film is about, and I think, surprised enough, there has been a lot of reference it from other media, from Rocko's Modern Life, The Simpsons, Yvonne of the Yukon, and even National Lampoon's Vacation, also Robot Chicken, and also Looney Tunes Back in Action. Now, the film itself was meant to be based on the 1959 novel of the same name by Robert Bloch, and of course the film would eventually be produced and directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who was known to have done so many films for until his time. So the premise of the film is meant to be set in Air Phoenix. We see how a real estate secretary known as Marion Crane ends up stealing $40,000 from someone's bank deposit, and of course goes on an all-out ride to sort of drive to her boyfriend Sam's house. And of course, on the way, she ends up at the Bates Motel, where she kind of meets the kind of weird but kind of charming Norman Bates. And of course, there is more truths about Norman Bates than there is. And I think the point of Norman's character is that it's clear there is some things about him that are kind of foreshadowed, as he's a bit of an oddball. He's a bit kind of strange. And we kind of find out that something awful happens to Marion, which leads for Marion's sister Leela, as well as Marion's boyfriend Sam, to try and figure out the pieces and figure out what's going on. And I would say the film really does try to build up the suspense quite well. It's basically like girlfriend, sister, and boyfriend coming together to sort of find out what's really going on. And I think looking back at the film, it's kind of clear that there was something wrong with Norman Bates from the start. As you kind of have like his mum sort of shouting at him and kind of berating him, and when Marion does talk about kind of sending her away, when he does kind of say about the crying and kind of shouting about the asylum, which kind of foreshadows Norman's past and his issues quite well. And I think for the most part, I would say, is that it doesn't really need to go full extremes to violence, and doesn't really need to go full on with it. It's just an Alfred Hitchcock film that knows what it's trying to be, much like John Carpenter's film Halloween. And I think, surprising enough, there were 3 other films from Psycho, as there was Psycho 2 in 1983, Psycho 3 in 1986, and the final one, Psycho 4, The Beginning. And of course, there would also have been a remake known as Psycho in 1998. And I think for the most part, being kept in black and white does work, as it kind of gives you this more disturbed but more kind of bleak setting, which I think was the point of black and white films, is sometimes when it's mixed with psychological horror or thriller, you know it's not meant to be colourful, but except bleak, miserable, and grey, which I think works with black and white flashbacks. And I think for the most part, I would say, if you're a fan of something classic, or if you've watched Psycho references before, like South Park, The Simpsons, and so on, then this is kind of your film. So I think Psycho definitely deserves 2 thumbs ups. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.